So I'm Avril, I'm a contributor at Neutron. You might know me as Spade, and today I want to tell you about, we've heard a lot about great technology today, and I think this is an integral part of the industry. But very often, we need to convert tech into products. So here are some of the learnings from our experience, right? Cosmos as a space, I think, has earned the recognition for being tremendously innovative, especially when it comes to fundamental technological improvements. But we've oftentimes failed to distribute these technological improvements as better products, better experiences for users, right? And so examples of this include, proof of stake, liquid staking, for example, was, invented in Cosmos. But if you think about the largest projects doing this today, you'll probably think about Lido, which is, on Ethereum. Similarly, Cosmos invented interchain security and restaking, which is today mostly commercialized by, Eigenlayer on Ethereum as well, right? And so, the learning there is that the best technology doesn't always win, but the best product usually does. And so, as builders, it's kind of our responsibility to not just think about fundamental technological improvements, but also how do we package these into better products, better experiences, so that the users actually get to benefit fully from these improvements. Now, what makes a better product? Is it decentralization, trustlessness, self-custody? Well, yes, those things are very important properties of the systems that we need to design and maintain as we sort of iterate and improve over our products, but they're not very user-centric, actually. As a user, as a trader, as a DeFi degen, what you're actually valuing the most is most likely one of these three things. Capital efficiency, e.g. how much can I do with $1? How much incremental gains can I get from this system? Accessibility, e.g. how easy is it to do the things that I want to do with this system, with this product? And synergy, which is how nicely does it fit into the rest of the set of applications that I use. And so we've seen a lot of fragmentation, a lot of challenges on all three of these verticals throughout the industry. And it sort of begs the question, how do we change this? How do we take all these technologies, package them into one really, really nice product that we can then distribute to the industry? And today I want to tell you about three general stories, which I think bear some of our learnings of how to do this at scale. And our first story is kind of not settling down for what already exists in terms of mechanism designs and product design, right? The history of trading is very linked to the history of civilization. In a way, it enables specialization, right? You'll produce food, I'll produce art, and then we'll exchange this. This enables society as a whole to grow. And the history of trading is one of searching for efficiency and optimization, right? We were trading physically, we invented town markets so that we wouldn't have to walk kilometers to get one good, but actually you could just get them all in one place. We invented trading floors for the same reason, but for financial assets. We invented technologies that allowed us to communicate at distances so that this exchange would get more and more efficient, more faster and faster, right? And this all kind of culminated with the invention of electronic order books. Order books allow you to aggregate the preferences of not just two counterparties trading with one another, but thousands of them, right? And so you've heard today about how order books are powerful primitives, right? And so it stands to reason that when trading became an on-chain thing, we went for this model, right? But it turns out that, you may remember Ether Delta as well as 0x and such, the first exchanges on chain were order books. But the problem was that on the infrastructure at the time, those were really slow, really expensive, right? And so, as a result of these limitations, not as a result of it being a better design, but as a result of the limitations, we invented AMMs, right? AMMs like Uniswap, this is the V1, so memory lane for some of you. But AMMs basically allow you to improve the efficiency of the compute tremendously by basically having one pool that serves as the counterparty for everything. And over time, we sort of refined this model by making the curves way more efficient, enabling them to be tailored to specific use cases and token trading. And so in doing so, we democratized for the first time in human history probably market making itself, right? So the ability to sort of make the market on which others are sort of expressing their preferences and trading, right? But we didn't democratize capital efficiency or profitability, unfortunately. AMMs as a model have tremendous limitations. They have generally poor pricing, because they're fully passive entities, they only update their prices when other traders sort of like come and trade, which also results in adverse selection, which is that if I'm a sophisticated trader and I know the price of an asset, generally on the internet in the real world, I can wait until the pool gives me a better price than it should before I trade. And as a result of this, like LPs, participants that help market make these new markets on chain are effectively losing money like all the time, right? And so while we just distributed market making, we didn't distribute market making profits. And this is something that we can fix. And I think, I will not be the first one to argue this on stage today, but to do this, we need integrated infrastructure, we need app chains. Now, when you combine some of these technologies together, you're able to not only build better, more efficient markets, but also distribute them as better products and experiences for users. The way you do this is you combine the most efficient way of aggregating preferences that we know of, which is very advanced on-chain order books, high performance and such. Kudos to the previous talks on this, very interesting. You take the order books, you combine them with additional enshrined infrastructure, like the ability to retrieve prices from all across the internet through an enshrined oracle, automation, and a few other primitives, and you're able to build super vaults, like what we call super vaults, which are market-making vaults that are not suffering from adverse selection. What they provide is best execution for traders in the sense that you're now able to trade at the best prices available in the entire industry on-chain, as well as much more protection for LPs so that impermanent loss is kind of like a thing of the past, and on expectations, you're earning with every trade that the markets facilitate. Roughly speaking, simplifying heavily here, this is how it works. So on the right, you have your order book with a set of like limit orders in there. The difference between the highest buy and the lowest sell is what we call the spread. On an AMM, you would call this like the fee effectively. And on the right, you have the super vault, so the market making vault. That vault has liquidity and it receives data and like as an input, right? So you have the oracle price that tells you like on the internet, this is the actual price at which the asset is trading. You can use this information with the market making vault to effectively like put liquidity very tightly across this price at a 10% bips, like at a 10 bips, kind of like difference from that price. This becomes effectively the profits for the LPs, right? Now what you've done is you've tremendously tightened the spread. So as an exchange, as a product for traders, you are now providing way better execution and systematically as well. But what you can also do is you can take the reserve and also allocate this onto the order book, but at a 2 plus 2% so like difference to the market price. And what this does is it provides tremendous capital efficiency to the rest of the ecosystem. And this is something that we'll touch upon a bit later in the presentation. And then you repeat this cycle, right? For every block, you get an oracle update. You now know the best price for these. Market maker around it. You put the reserve capital into the order book, and you repeat this cycle. You execute the trade, you withdraw the liquidity, and you start over. And so what this does is it democratizes market-making profits, because now you not only provide better pricing for traders, right? Like effectively, you're able to trade Binance prices, but on-chain. But you're also able to have much more profitable LP positions because the prices are updated at every single block, and because the transactions are ordered in a custom way that prevents them from the LPs from being front-run effectively, there is no longer adverse selection. And so as a result of this in expectation on every trade, the LPs, the market makers, are making profits, right? You also increase the capital efficiency of the entire ecosystem, right? Remember how we put the reserve at about 2% of the mid price? What this does is that it tremendously increases the lending and borrowing caps on other primitives in the ecosystem, right? Compared to an XYK pool, a super vault like this provides like 100x more efficient like liquidations and a higher caps, which means more perps open interest, which means like more lending and borrowing capacity. And so, the TLDR of this is that like financial markets by definition are driven by a search for efficiency and profitability. And for our products to be successful, we need to be able to become the best versions, like the best products available in these regards, right? To do so, we need integrated infrastructure. We need dedicated infrastructure that is tailored to satisfying the objective functions of the market participants, right? And so we need app chains. We need integrated infrastructure. Our second story is about connecting the dots, or in this case, the drops. Drop protocol, which is a liquid staking protocol on Neutron, launched very recently, and one of the major pieces of feedback we got is that people enjoyed how integrated the experience felt with the rest of the ecosystem, right? The big reason why that happened was because Drop took a very integrated approach to its go-to-market, right? On the Drop app itself, it would reference other applications you could use these assets in. On these applications, you could also see your droplets, like the staking rewards that you would get from these assets and such. And so the experience extended outside of one simple app and became an ecosystem thing. And they were all tied together with synchronous composability, which enables higher efficiency. You're now like removing some of the fees. You're removing latency. You're enabling all of these things to happen within a same block, which enables you to take better trade, right? And when you model the ecosystem as a whole, you see that there's a bit of a flywheel happening between different DeFi primitives, right? And so integration is also about like being very intentional about these different synergies for each one of them. We've already talked about how by optimizing the way you market make on the order book, you can increase the capital efficiency of the leverage markets. But effectively, there are relationships like this that are synergistic between each of the protocols, right? Like, asset issuers want TVL, like markets want liquidity, and that liquidity is required for lending markets. And so like by being very intentional and like pushing on these relationships, you're able to like increase the capital efficiency of the whole. A really pinnacle kind of like example of this is Mars protocol, I think, which is probably the most integrated like credit primitive in the industry today. Mars not only accepts like reward-bearing collateral, like assets as collateral, like not just LSTs, but also LP tokens or Volt tokens for market making, so like primitives. It not only accepts them as collateral, but it allows you to like take leverage onto them, which begets liquidity, because now you're not only providing liquidity with your own assets, but also with those that you have borrowed. And it unlocks new trades in doing so, right? On all perps exchanges today, the only collateral you can provide is USDC, which means that if you want to do trades like the Athena carry trade, you would have to use 2 units of capital, one of them in USDC in order to serve as collateral for the perps, as well as 1 unit of capital that you basically hold as spot as the exposure, right? So like Athena does rep staked ETH, you get the staking rewards and ETH exposure, and then short ETH to go delta neutral and earn the funding, like the funding rate. You can do this in one trade with 1 unit of capital on Mars, which makes it like twice as capital efficient, and also much faster and much more manageable, right? And so, integration is not about just getting the right infrastructure to make the product stand better. It's also about like taking all of the pieces of an actual on-chain economy and like combining them very intentionally so that you maximize the output of every single component. Our last story is about shortening the path, right? And this one is like the most user-centric, I guess. Like UX in crypto today is still a bit of a maze, right? Like at every single step, users will churn. And if you sort of like try and summarize the general journey for like most apps in the ecosystem, like this is what it looks like, right? I'm not gonna walk you through every single one of these steps. I think you've probably suffered through them like multiple times before as like, one of the first adopters of these technologies, but this doesn't need to happen, right? We can remove most of these steps and simplify the journey like tremendously. And the way that we do this is, first, we enable users to create a wallet in one click wherever they are from the app itself, right? Instead of having to go to the App Store, download a specific wallet or such, we can bring the wallet experience into the app itself. We can have these work as integrated components of the application that we can develop and distribute across every single app so that whatever app you're interested in there, click Connect Wallet. If you have a wallet, but it's not a Cosmos wallet or such, you can use your MetaMask wallet, your Phantom wallet, and connect with this. If you don't have a wallet, if you've never used on-chain finance, you can create one with a passkey in like 3 clicks, right? That's a pretty significant detour that you don't need to make anymore, right? So you've gained a lot of time as a user. And the second thing is, we can completely abstract away gas. We can offer free transactions to new users. We can accept different gas denominations so that being stuck because you don't have the native asset anymore is no longer an issue. And that means that removes a lot of complexity. And then finally, if you need to onboard funds, we can allow you to do this extremely quickly from the app itself. through two things. But first, having the on-ramps and like the bridging basically be integrated, an integrated experience of the applications. Think about drop, like all of the bridging that happens in the background is not something that the user has to care about. You just, I have my assets here, do the thing. And we can also like build custom infrastructure like Skip Go Fast. I believe Barry will be talking about it later today, which allows you to bring your USDC from wherever it is to Neutron, Osmosis, and other chains in like 30 seconds rather than 30 minutes. And so all of these kind of like pieces of infrastructure, the ability to sign with Ethereum keys as well as Cosmos ones, use whatever wallet you're accustomed to, your passkeys and such, as the primary way of interacting with these things removes complexity. The ability to bring your capital onto the chain in like 30 seconds also removes complexity. And so the aggregate result of all of this is that users get to your product in like 3 clicks and 30 seconds rather than have to go through this entire journey, right? To conclude, if we are serious about building better DeFi ecosystems and integrated on-chain economies, we need to not only develop better technologies, but we need to package them into better products so that they're as accessible to new users as possible and as efficient as possible. This is what I believe like integrated infrastructure uniquely enables, and this is what we'll be focusing on for the next couple of years. Thank you all.